All right, good morning. Uh, Thank you all for being here this morning to learn and to participate in the Philly Streetlight Improvement Project kickoff for our communities. My name is Phoebe Coles. I am with an organization called Community Marketing Concepts, and we are working with our project partners to bring access to folks in the community around this world-changing, or at least tremendous investment in Philadelphia's infrastructure. So today I just want to welcome you, and I'm going to let folks know who have joined us on Zoom that we will be answering your questions. Folks who are in the auditorium, we will be answering your questions also at the end of the presentation of the panelists. For Zoom folks, if you would please put your questions in the chat. At the end, when we go through our question and answers, we will bring up your chat questions and be answering them live as well. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panelists to you to kick off the day. So first, to my right, sitting on the end here, is Emily Shapira, who is the president and CEO of the Philadelphia Energy Authority. Next to her is Fritz Feitling, who is the National Lighting Consultant. Next to him is Richard Montanez, who is Deputy Commissioner for Transportation for the Streets Department. Sorry. Next to him is Dominic McGraw, who is the City Energy Manager for the City of Philadelphia. And next to him is Katie Barletta, who is the Vice President of Policy and Strategic Partnerships. I would like to bring up first Emily to introduce you to the project. Thank you.
Thanks, Phoebe. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Shapira. I'm the President and CEO of the Philadelphia Energy Authority. We're the city government entity that is the contract holder with our vendor Amoresco for this project. So I'm happy to sort of give you a little bit of background today. This will be our agenda for this morning. I'll give you a little bit on the purpose of the project, the benefits, the timeline, and then I'll pass it to our partners at Amoresco to give you the technical details. So this is the city project team. This is a project of the Office of Sustainability, PEA, and the Streets Department with lots of support from lots of other folks at different departments in the city. So this is the project. The scope of work is as follows. So our plan is to replace about 120,000 plus existing high-pressure sodium streetlights. Those are like the very yellow streetlights that you see out there with new energy-efficient, long-lasting LEDs. We're going to link all of the newly replaced and already converted LED fixtures with a lighting management system, and we can talk a little bit more with Amoresco about what that means. And then we're auditing right now. I'll explain that in a minute. And that audit includes every fixture pretty much in the city. So it includes all of the roadway lighting. Those are called Cobra heads. All of the alleyway lighting that we can access. Hopefully we'll get to most of it. And all of the decorative lighting that you see both in residential applications and on commercial corridors. Our hope and plan is to be able to replace all of them. It'll depend on the payback that we get from the energy savings. The goal is for the energy savings to pay for the project, so we have to kind of fit it into a payback. And I just wanted to sort of share a picture left and right. This is on the left side, you can see that very yellow lighting from the high pressure sodium fixtures. On the right side, you can see what sort of brighter LEDs look like. There are lots of different color temperatures of the LEDs, so that's something we'll be seeking community feedback on. But just to give you a little bit of a sense of the difference in visibility. The benefits of this project are many. Obviously from our perspective, there's a carbon savings, there's energy efficiency to be had. This is actually the largest energy efficiency project the city has taken on to date. This one single project will reduce our carbon footprint by 9%. But this project also does lots of other things. It supports public safety. It enhances visibility to reduce crashes with vehicles and with pedestrians. So it aligns with the city's Vision Zero goals. It also, as I mentioned, advances all of our climate goals. It adds remotely controlled lighting and outage monitoring that will create lots of operational efficiencies for the streets department, help speed up those repairs, and also hopefully there will be fewer repairs because these are much longer lasting fixtures than what we have currently. And it'll provide a communications network for future smart city applications. You guys might have heard of the Smart City PHL roadmap. So it'll provide some infrastructure there. It also supports local and diverse businesses and individuals through an EOP. That might be familiar language to you. That's an economic opportunity plan, as well as a workforce development agreement. So in the EOP, we've set objectives for Amoresco. Currently, we have about 58% minority and women-owned business participation in the project, and 58% local business enterprises participating as contractors. And then we have a workforce development agreement in which Amoresco and their subs are hiring local workforce and providing opportunities for students from our workforce training programs to participate as well. As I mentioned, this project pays for itself through the energy savings, so it'll have a 20-year or better payback. The city will, actually Philadelphia Energy Authority will issue a bond to pay for this project. I wanted to just share a little bit about the timeline. So let me look back first. So we originally issued a public procurement through an RFQ in January of 2020. We had 11 responses to that, selected 4 contractors to move forward. We issued the RFP in March of 21 and selected Amoresco in October of that year. The ordinances were passed by City Council that enabled the project back in the spring of this year, and we kicked off our field audit in July. September, we launched a website, so we'll share that with you before we leave. Our goal is to make sure that all of the information on the project is available and up to date on the website at all times. This is a sort of long couple of year construction project, so because it's one of very few projects the city ever does that touches every single neighborhood, we want to make sure people feel informed and confident and comfortable. At the moment, we're installing trial installations in all different parts of the city so that folks have a chance to actually see some different color temperatures up on a pole near each other, so they can really feel what that difference is as they're providing feedback. And we'll begin our stakeholder engagement now. Going forward, the plan is this. So you can see these are broader timelines than in the previous slide. But this is the plan. So we're in the process of doing the field audit right now. Every single fixture is getting looked at in the entire city right now. You may see crews out there once in a while taking pictures of streetlights. And hopefully that'll be completed by the end of November. We will plan to select the lighting management system and hopefully fixtures and start to finalize the design in the next 2 quarters. So in FY23, which is July of 22 to June of 23, so Q2 and Q3 are the ones that will have that process happening. And then Q3, which is sort of the January to March timeline, is when hopefully we'll give the thumbs up on the final project and begin installation in Q4 of 23. So that's really like the spring getting into the summer. It's a 2-year construction timeline, so we're expecting it to take the full 24 months. There's a pretty robust way that we're deciding how neighborhoods get it when, so I'll leave that to Amoresco to talk more about. And I'll be here to answer any questions, but I'll, at this point, pass it over to Fritz, I think. Thanks all.
Thanks, Emily, and good morning, everyone. Fritz Feiten, National Smart Street Lighting Consultant at Amoresco. So I first wanted to just kind of touch on how we got where we are with these LED streetlight evolution and kind of where Philadelphia fits in there. Many of the largest cities in the United States and North America and Europe as well have already converted their streetlights to LED. Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, many other cities in the US. And according to the Department of Energy, the streetlight penetration, LED penetration in streetlights now stands at about, well, it was between 28 and 49% back in 2016, and it's somewhere between 60 and 65% now. So more than half the streetlights in the country have already been converted to LED. And you might wonder why only 60%? And part of the reason is that many of the streetlights in the US are owned by investor-owned utilities rather than municipalities, and those entities have been a bit slower to do the conversions. Amoresco has been very active in this space since about 2014. We've completed or are currently implementing 62 projects to date, encompassing some 900,000 streetlights. And as we have participated in this evolution over time, we have seen more and more cities moving to include networked controls, connecting all the lights in these types of projects. And we'll talk a little bit about those benefits. So Emily touched on the comprehensive citywide audit of street lighting assets that's taking place right now. We have 26 people hired locally and trained that are going around and visiting literally every single street light that we can access. There are some alley lights we have not been able to access. Together, they're going to walk more than 5,000 miles over a couple of months. And we're also doing community outreach to get a sense of what the community's preferences are with regard to color temperature. In addition to that, we've embarked on a process of evaluating both the luminaires that we may install and the lighting management system. This is an open and transparent process. We're working with all the major vendors in both those categories that meet the minimum requirements, and that process is underway now. At the end of this process, we're looking to create a really great project for the city. We're concerned about quality of lighting as well as energy efficiency, as Emily pointed out. The investment grade audit will be the culmination of this development process that we're in currently, and that will provide projected costs, energy savings, energy-related cost savings, avoided costs, other savings, maintenance, and so forth, so that we can provide the city with a cost-neutral project. So I wanted to talk a little bit about color temperature. Emily again mentioned this. I've got a few photographs up here. On the right is a comparison of high-pressure sodium. So color temperature is measured in degrees Kelvin, or K. The high-pressure sodium lights that exist for the most part in Philadelphia today are around 2100 K. The choices that we're looking at for the replacement LEDs are either 3000 K or 4000 K. The higher the number, the sort of cooler the color temperature, and obviously lower number is warmer. And again, the pictures on the left illustrate that. Higher color temperature does not mean more light. In these examples on the left, it's the exact same lumen output for both examples. And I just want to, there are pros and cons. In addition to preferences, there are just, science-based issues that go with those color temperatures. So 3000 K is recommended by a number of organizations like the American Medical Association, the Dark Sky Association, and others. On the other hand, 4000 K has been shown to offer improved object detection at speeds above 35 miles per hour. So we want to take into consideration safety, environmental concerns, and most importantly, the public's preference. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about the trial installations that we're doing. And of course, the first issue is, why are we doing these? And again, the primary goal is to get community feedback about their preferences. And we have installed a 3,000K and 4,000K streetlight in 10 locations, one in each district, as well as 5 additional locations in driveways. So a total of 30 lights. And those, we'll be placing placard signs on those lights to indicate which color temperature they are, and having a number of community outreach events to invite the public's feedback. And some of those will take place literally at the locations where the lights have been installed, but there will be, the public will have the ability to weigh in online through paper-based survey forms, a variety of methods. And again, we'll be able to visit those sites on their own and provide us with feedback. We'll really be encouraging the public to actively participate in that. So here's just a quick, these are the locations in the 10 council districts. And I'm not going to read these, obviously, but I'll leave it up for a second so people can take a quick look. I actually visited 5 of these sites last night to confirm that the lights are in the correct location and everything. I will visit the others tonight, but so far it looks great. Everything's where it's supposed to be. So we're looking forward to kicking that off. And then these are the driveway locations. This is an example of the survey instructions. Again, we want to be very explicit about where to go to find the trial installations. We're suggesting that people stand sort of at the midpoint on the opposite side of the street from the 2 fixtures, so that they have the 4,000K fixture on their left and the 3,000K on their right. And that's consistent through all 10 installations, so that we can get accurate information back. Whoop, there we go. And again, here's an example of the community survey. The writing is pretty small, so it may be hard for you to see, but again, this is really about, about the preference with regard to color temperature, which one you believe provides the best visibility, and which one makes you feel safer. So those are kind of the ways that we're getting at this preference question. Here's some examples of the placards. And I think I should have turned this back over about 2 slides ago, so I will stop now and hand it back over. Sorry about that.
I probably wouldn't have been able to explain the color temperature. So Community Marketing Concepts, which is my firm, will be out with representatives in neighborhoods across Philadelphia. It's important that we see the posters here. We're going to place those on light poles, just like a move your car sign would be for street cleaning. So we're going to place those on light poles. They'll have QR codes, which will take you right to the survey, so you can answer those 5 questions. And they'll also be, easy for you to identify where the lights have been changed. So they'll be coming to a neighborhood near you. In addition, we will be sending out canvas teams in the neighborhoods that are directly adjacent to the trial locations to let people know 2 things. One, when we're coming back to do the survey live and in person, so our intention is to set up on the corner of the block where the lights are installed and have people from that neighborhood come and work, fill out the survey with us. So if there are any questions that need to be answered or any technological issues, we'll have paper surveys, but you're absolutely going to be invited to go online as well. So the first canvas will let you know what the date is that will be coming back into the neighborhood to do that live survey process. And then we'll also be out at community meetings across those 10 districts to just let people know that the survey is live and we would like your representation as part of what your community thinks is important around this lighting concept. And so those community meetings will happen between tomorrow and the end of November, as we are getting CBO, civic, and police district meetings primarily to present the information to. And then we'll roll up into a report that tells this project group what the preferences were for the lighting in their neighborhood. There are also ways to connect with us. So for questions directly, you can email ledstreetlighting@phila.gov. To request presentations and materials, you can email my office at mail@communitymarketingconcepts.com. You can also call 215-871-0400 to leave a voicemail requesting information. And you'll be able to visit the website as well, phillystreetlightimprovement.com. So those are going to be all the ways that you can connect directly to the project and project management. So I think we're now at the end of our presentation and we can start taking questions. So we'll start here live in the auditorium. Let's see. I'm not sure if we need a mic, but if someone wants to stand up and ask questions. So there's a card in the back that has a lot of the information. We also have a website, and we will be developing handouts to take into neighborhoods directly.
Okay, because the reason why I say, I'm also the vice president of our Valley Hill Association meeting, which we're also a registered community organization. We have meetings once a month. So I need to report that to, my constituents, and I need to give them present slides, something materials of this meeting. Okay, and I would like to have that so I can hand them out, because one thing in our neighborhood, we would have a problem with streetlights. And the main reason why I'm here is to talk about getting the lights in our neighborhood, the LED lights, okay? So that's why I wanted to give them something so they can have material-wise, and the information that you just displayed about the phone number and the website and stuff. I need to get a sheet of that so I can hand them out to them.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's not gonna work for me just giving them.
They're on the cards in the back, but we would love to present at your meeting. So after this is over, I'll get your information and we'll get your date and we'll be there.
Okay, and also our meetings are held every second Monday of each month. So if there's someone who could coordinate with me, so we can have you guys come out, they would really love to be there to talk about this, because this is a real issue. I don't mean to take up any, a lot of time, but, I got a couple of questions here, okay? As far as the posters on the posters that will be posted on the,
Light poles.
the light pole, trust me, that's not gonna work in my neighborhood, because people do not look at signs on the posters. You can put a sign saying street cleaning, do not park here, and they would not pay attention. That's another concern that I have. So for them to know what's going on, they're not gonna look at that.
Yeah, we're going to have canvassing out in conjunction with the poster, so they will get a note in their door that says on X number of date, we'll be back out, so you can actually do the survey with us.
Okay, so you mean that you'll be putting the information into people's doors?
Yes.
Like handout?
Yes.
If you want me to help you coordinate and get that done, I can help with that.
I would love that.
Okay, okay, seriously.
No, seriously, I would love that.
And
Yes.
We don't need that, okay.
They'll be online as well as on the handout that we have live when we do the live survey tabling in your neighborhood.
Let's talk after the meeting, so.
Absolutely. I'm really happy you're here, Christine. Thank you. I don't know. Let's go back in front. Okay, sir.
Norman Sabu Wooten, committee person 3710. Thousand pardons, I was late, but
I feel you. I did too.
anyway, I was late, like I said, so maybe this question, maybe this was already spoken about. Street lights on my block, they were out for X amount, almost a whole year before they got replaced. So my question is, how long do these LED lights last? And, how long would it take to replace them if they go out?
So I'll take a stab at the first part, and then maybe I'll hand it to Rich Montanez from the Streets Department to answer the second part. So these fixtures are 10 to 20-year fixtures, so they're much longer lasting than the ones that we have now. So you should see a lot fewer maintenance issues, a lot fewer fixtures out. They'll also be attached to a lighting management system. So the second a light is out or having an issue, it'll be reported to the Streets Department. Unlike now where, somebody has to report it and they need to figure out what's going on. So it'll tell you which fixture it is, what type of fixture it is, and exactly where the problem is. And then Streets will be able to get a ticket to go out and replace it. So Rich, I don't know if you want to add a little bit to sort of what that maintenance process will look like, but.
So it's part of the process, as Emily said. It's going to be connected to a central system. Every morning, that central system is going to create work orders for the streets department to then go out there and take a look. So we're actually going to be proactive instead of reactive. Right now, like Emily said, we depend on people calling 311 to tell us that the lights are out. And a lot of times that does not happen. Trust me, I go to community meetings and there's 0 311s. So we do depend on the residents and the community to tell us when there's a problem out there.
Can I just answer something for them, please? In regards to putting in requested streetlights and everything, I find it much easier. 311, that's not gonna work. That system phone is gonna not work. I find it much easier to go online and put the request in online here, because you get a much quicker answer as opposed to actually calling 311 and getting a ticket number from them. Because you'll call back and they'll say, oh, well, it's been fixed. And I said, how can it be fixed? We're not gonna get the ticket number and it's not working. So I don't like that 311. The best way, like I said, is to really go on 311 online and put you'll have a list of things that you want to get done. And you just toggle down and say street lights and what area or street. I find that much quicker. Much quicker.
Okay, another question is, how long will it take to put them in? I mean, I know they gotta use a what do you call it?
Bucket truck.
Yeah. And, how long does it take? You got to wire it, or do they just put them in? It take 5 minutes or an hour? That's what I'm
It's
saying.
about 20 minutes for installation.
20 minutes per installation.
And so the whole process is about a 2-year process to do the entire city. So that's what we're gonna do, and we'll have a website available to you that will tell you sort of the look ahead for the next couple weeks, which neighborhoods are gonna get it when. We're prioritizing neighborhoods based on a formula that includes Vision Zero and sort of vehicle and pedestrian crash areas, a series of demographic questions, and then crime as well. So hopefully we'll be able to prioritize neighborhoods pretty easily through that formula. Question, Christine?
I also have a meeting every month, Thursday, so, we have a community meeting every Thursday every month, so I'd like to get on the list.
So the streets departments, if you guys invite us, we're willing to come out and talk to you along with MRSCO.
Yeah, we've had street department at our community meeting before, but not on street lights. So this will be something.
We're willing to talk all things streets. So.
Okay, Andy?
Yeah, hi, I'm Andy Toy from the Policy Director from Philadelphia Association of Community Development Corporations, or PSIP. We represent at least 50 CDCs across the city, so I'd love to be able to help you to reach to other communities that may not be reached easily. I have a couple of questions real quick. One is, other communities that you've already gone to out in Chicago, Boston, and other places, I'm sure they've already expressed a preference. Do you think Philadelphia is going to be any different, and would it be different in different neighborhoods that you would do it, or you're going to pick one? That's question number one.
Yeah, different cities have approached that different ways. Chicago elected to go with, I assume you're referring to color temperature primarily here.
And brightness too, is that another?
Absolutely, yeah. So with regard to color temperature, again, in Chicago, they elected to go with 3,000 K fixtures. And as in Philadelphia, the lighting intensity is tied to national standards. The Illuminating Engineering Society's RP 8-21 is the Bible that tells us how much light we should be putting on different streets based on their classification. And the city works very hard to meet those requirements.
Could you talk a little bit about the design process too?
Sure. Yeah, did I fully answer your question though?
Yeah, my other question is, can we prioritize commercial, neighborhood commercial corridors as first places, because we're always getting requests, and in fact, people do their own lighting, like string lighting, which is not, official, is a reason, part of the reason why people do that is to give them light on the street, and make it safer, especially in commercial areas.
Yeah. I wanted to add to the question around color temperature. Obviously, some cities have selected 4,000 K, and many cities have elected to go with kind of a hybrid solution where they choose to go with 3,000 K on streets with speeds under 35 miles per hour and 4,000 K on streets that have higher speed limits. So there's a certain logic to that, and again, Amoreso is going to do what Philadelphia decides they want. And with regard to the design process, we're currently creating a more comprehensive list of what we call typical applications. So this is a type of street that's based on the number of lanes, the number of parking lanes, drive lanes, the placement of the streetlight poles. Are they on opposite sides, one side, opposing each other? There's a whole array of factors that go into creating a typical application. And then we will classify the entire city into those typical applications. And that will create a performance specification for the streetlight vendors. This is how much light we need for each of these applications, and provide that information to the vendors and ask them to propose solutions for that, and then work with the city to evaluate those solutions, and ultimately the city will choose one.
Can I piggyback off of that answer and just ask from one of the chat questions about how the pilot locations were selected? Katie.
So Emily mentioned before that for installation, we're going to prioritize areas of the city by the metrics that she outlined: high nighttime crime, Vision Zero alignment, and the high injury network, along with demographic information. We use that same composite score, as we call it. That's the technical term for bringing all of those pieces of information together to decide a location within each of the 10 council districts. And the idea also was to have at least one in every council district to make it as accessible as possible to folks. So not only is it giving you an indication of where installation might begin in those districts based on those factors, but also we wanted to make it as widespread as possible to make it easy for folks to go, especially for folks who want to attend the tabling session, so they don't need to take the survey by themselves, but can get information from community marketing concepts and our project team and have some assistance and guidance on how to walk through the process and give their feedback.
Were any of those in commercial districts? I didn't see any.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Andy. So the commercial district decorative lighting, where it's like on a pole and there's a post top kind of a fixture, that spec is already set by the streets department. Because those are hard to retrofit fixtures, there's not as many options as we would like. And so they're already specified, so we're not seeking specific commercial corridor feedback there. As far as your other question of can we prioritize getting commercial corridors done earlier in the process, I will take that back to the scheduling team and see what the plan is there. One of the challenges of the commercial corridor lighting, well, aside from sort of supply and being able to get those fixtures on time, is just whether we can afford it in this grand scheme of the payback. So we'll keep you guys posted as soon as that final design is done, and we can sort of fit everything together. Our goal is to get as many done as humanly possible. We expect to be able to do all of them, but we'll know what happens soon.
Okay. We'll take this gentleman here who'd been raised his hand for a while.
Dennis Well, Logan Square Neighborhood Association. I think there are a number of RCOs, registered community organizations here. We probably all would volunteer to be additional guinea pigs where you need additional sites. So keep in mind there are 250 RCOs across the city, and we're all happy to have samples. And that, you want to up your engagement, we'll certainly work with you on that.
Thank you so much. And we'll be able to do, community meetings and that kind of thing too. So, it's not just the trial installations. We'll do a lot more than those 10.
Yeah, just understand that the trial is finite. It's leading to the entire city being done. So you will be done in the next.
Just for the purpose of the discussion.
Gotcha.
People are going to say, they're, if they can walk around the corner and see the sample, they're going to engage more quickly.
I agree. Okay, lady in the back.
At some point, one of the speakers said, many lights are owned by industrial entities. Were you talking about Philadelphia?
Nope, that is just for places outside of Philadelphia, actually. So in Philly, the city owns all of the fixtures. There are some of the poles that are owned by Pico, but we own all of the fixtures. So for us, we're able to go forward and do this project ourselves. We don't have to wait for someone else to say we can do it.
So one of the areas that, to my surprise, I was riding through, I usually don't ride through, it was off of Kensington and front of Kensington. I rode through there, it was lit up like, my neighborhood is dark as I don't know what, and I ride through there and the lights is lit up, and I understand that they're just building it, so it would be easier to put that in there. But that's one of the areas, right? And I'm like, how much, I don't know how much crime is going on in that area because that's gentrified now. And I'm like, wow, and I understand you said it's 120,000 that y'all gonna put up. How many actual lights? I'm thinking like, it's not, my neighborhood's not gonna be one of them, because
Your
we're
neighborhood,
like the last people to get it.
I hear you. All neighborhoods will get done with a minimum of the roadway lighting. We're trying to also do all the alleyway lighting and all of the decorative fixtures and commercial corridors as well. But you're raising a really good point because the streets department for the last, Rich, decade, have been doing pilots of LED fixtures on certain blocks throughout the city, focusing really on the high crime network and looking at where lighting might be able to have an impact there. And so of the 140,000 streetlights that exist across the city, 10,000 of them have already been retrofitted by the streets department previously as they were testing out new fixture types and their processes and all that. So those lights you see under the L in Kensington were part of one of those pilots. You see the same in Center City. There's a handful of other parts of the city that have gotten sort of a test pilot there as well. And so now this is the kickoff for getting every single neighborhood in the city to be able to have those same LED fixtures. Not necessarily the same ones that are hung right now, but LEDs. So it's a 24-month construction schedule. It'll begin in the spring of 2023. So right now we're doing the audit to make sure we know where every fixture is. We're doing a citywide design process and all this community engagement, and then we'll be ready to start construction in probably June of '23. So then it'll take 24 months from there to get everywhere. You'll be able to see on the website which neighborhoods are coming up when. We'll do multiple neighborhoods at once, so we'll move as fast as we can.
Great. All right, this gentleman right here.
I'm James McCrone from the Tacony CDC. Actually, so Andy, thank you for your question on commercial districts. Actually, two questions. I'd like a little bit more information on color temperature. But secondarily, for the streets department, has Torresdale Avenue been one of the pilots? Because in preparation for this, I went around and kind of looked up along Torresdale. And it looks like there are a number of...
Yeah, some of the lights haven't been Torresdale.
Okay.
Not by the way, not for the pilot. For, like Emily said, the streets department has been doing this since 2011.
I see. Got it. Okay. I just wanted to, you talked about 3,000K and 4,000K. As the lady in the back was talking about Kensington, the only time I've seen light that bright, other than walking through Kensington and the L, I was in Newark over by the law school there, Rutgers Law School, and I mean, it was horrible actually. It felt sterile, it felt, no shadows, and I'm just wondering, is that like 10,000 or, I don't know.
No. The color temperature, as Fritz said, has nothing to do with the brightness. And there are national standards within the IES of how you light your right-of-way. The streets department has been overlighting the right-of-way when we're doing LEDs, especially when we're coming into high-crime districts at the request of the neighbors and the police. Part of this project, what it's going to do is create controls for us. Those controls then is going to allow us to dim the lights to the proper IES levels that we set forth. They're not intended to be, but they are intended that during an emergency, if there's a fire, police activity, things like that, the streets department can then brighten the block while the emergency is happening. So this is not like, what we did in Kensington was in response to women being raped at night.
I wasn't criticizing so much as just, worrying that, Torresdale Avenue might,
The idea we are going out there with, and we're going to be completely transparent, we're going to put the proper light levels for the proper streets. As Fritz has said, like, when your speed limit is 25 miles an hour, you have a certain light level. When you're 35 miles an hour, and again, the controls allows us to do what we call digital harvesting, which would allow us to dim the lights. So, for example, if it's a neighborhood street and kids are playing, we may have a certain light level from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. At that point, the lights will start dimming down overnight and things like that. So there's a lot of things that internally we're still discussing, the capabilities of the control that allows us to do. Now, digital harvesting also allows us to save more energy, reduce our carbon footprint, and able to pay this bond back faster. So there's multiple benefits to the controls, and the controls are a very key part of all this.
Rich, I'm going to come to you in 1 second. Can you reiterate how this process is working with lights that have already been requested? So I have a lot of questions on the chat about, we've already requested new lights. When, how has this process intervened with that?
So yeah, I mean, a lot of neighborhoods have been requesting the newer, brighter lights. We've been getting tons of requests for that. I've also been getting requests for don't change my neighborhood, but unfortunately, the high-pressure sodiums are no longer being manufactured, so we have to go to LEDs, and this is why we're going through this process of picking out. I've actually slowed down our process of changing lights by city crews. We're just doing maintenance right now until we come up with a decision on this project. The reason being that is currently we standardize on 4,000 in the city of Philadelphia. That was based on multiple factors when we looked at it in 2011. The interesting part in 2011, when the city jumped into this, 4,000 was the newest fixture. It was not like Seattle and Oregon, out west, LA, where it's 6,000 and 5,000. The city went to 4,000. So we were one of now, as Fritz would tell you, there's 3,000, even 2,700 and other kinds of fixtures. But we jumped into the 4,000 market. We also were, at that time, got tasked with the mayor of doing two things. One, lighting. Two was crime cameras. What we looked through for color rendition, how the clarity, everything we got at night through the cameras, 4,000 seemed to be giving us the best. Since 2011, this is why we went and got Amoresco to come be our experts and do all the research for us, is technology has advanced on both the LED side and the camera side. So one of the things we're also going to do in the city is try this out, because we do not want to go backwards on our crime camera program or anything like that. So that's why we are where we are right now.
Young lady?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ruth Burchett. I'm from North Philadelphia with Heritage Community Development Corporation. And I just really want to thank you all for showing up at the Black Captain's rally and having a table to put this out. It's been quite a buzz, and it's something that we're all looking forward to. Having been a Black Captain for 30 years, I greatly appreciate this. Just yesterday, someone who lives on an aerial commercial corridor, Ridge Avenue, had a complaint about the brightness of the lights that are on the brown poles. And so on commercial corridors, where I understand the needs of business, I also understand that there are people living above many of these businesses. This person has multiple blankets at their window to try and block out. And I suggested to them the blackening lines and window treatments and things like that. But so my question to that is there a remedy that can be applied either with two lighting fixtures on a pole or something that gives some relief to the residents who are trying to sleep at night, but it's daylight all the time.
So yeah, I'll get your address or get that address. So there are, light trespass is something we're not trying to do as part of this project. We're not trying to light people's houses or anything like that. We can install house shields that actually cut the light off from going into the windows and things like that. We can also take a look at the LED to make sure it is in this proper plane, so it's not, pointing towards the window or anything like that. So if you give me the address, we will take care of that and we'll look at it.
For sure I will. And then is there, I know when you look at a LED, it's piercing on the eye.
Don't stare at the light, just like don't stare at the sun.
I know, Jen. I know. So is there a safety element there at all?
So this is actually a really important part of the selection process of the fixtures. So the fixtures that started in 2011, 2012 had a lot more glare than the fixtures that you're seeing now. So this is a really crucial component of what fixture we'll ultimately select. So that's also why Rich is slowing down the new replacements a little bit so that we can get the best new technology in so that you won't see as much sort of glare coming right from that fixture.
Well, and I have to give a shout out to 311, both on your phone and on calling 311, because I routinely report lights that are out, particularly because of short dumping and things like that. And I take pictures of the ID numbers that are on the wooden poles and things like that. And I've had response in less than 24 hours. And so kudos to that. It does work consistently. Thank you.
Nice. Anyone who has an answer question? Okay. Mr. Wooten, and I think we have about 5 more minutes.
I live near Temple. As a matter of fact, I live between the hospital and the So when you're coming down Broad Street, when you get near the hospital or get down near the university, the lights get brighter. And then when you get away from the hospital or the university, the lights get dimmer. So, question is, will that continue even when we get this new LED program in place?
So keep in mind, Temple University lights up the streets from their buildings. So the streets department lights up we light up the roadway. We'll do a uniform, but Temple's still going to do what Temple's practice is. I can't control them. So we've talked to Temple, but that is their practice. If you look on top of their buildings, you see their lights are all lighting. So yes, those are not controlled by the city of Philadelphia.
So I just wanted to let you know we have about 5 more minutes, and I wanted to put up the contact information. There are cards out on the counter that also have this information on it. Definitely reach out to myself or anyone on the stage to get more information. For me, it's about bringing us to your meetings and making sure that people are informed about the survey coming up, and just those numbers and email addresses are the best way to reach us. So, are there any more comments from the stage before we end? Nope. Okay, great. Well, really appreciate. Oh, yes, ma'am.
My name is Lisa, and I'm from West Calvin with the RCO. But I'm trying to get an understanding of the A and B lighting report. So regardless of which one is selected, you'll be able to adjust the intensity some kind of way? So what's the big difference?
Yeah, so we'll be able to, these will now be all dimmable. We're going to add controls on it through the lighting management system, so the streets department would be able to control them. The only difference is just the warmth or coolness of the light. So I think that's what we're asking for preference, but the dimmability will be there for all. And there's a lot of incentives besides I think comfort and feel. I think also from an energy savings perspective, but right now as we're paying for streetlights, it's a flat fee, and that will continue, but we'll be able to tell them, oh, this block is at this, using this many watts. And so we have incentive to keep on top of the dimming schedules and everything, because from a cost perspective and a greenhouse gas emissions perspective, we're really keen on moving that forward. So I think now we're paying a flat rate for fixtures as they are. In the future, we'll have a lot more flexibility, and we'll be able to lower the city's costs. Does that answer your question? Or more services, yeah.
So first, I want to thank you all for being here. We always know that our RCOs and our block captains and our civics are really engaged in making sure their community is knowledgeable about what's happening to it as much as you're invited in. And so I appreciate you taking the opportunity to have this invitation and come with us today. I also want to thank the Academy of Natural Sciences who hosted us today, very graciously offering to let us be in their auditorium and use their equipment to be able to further their goal is to have community inside out and understanding science and nature and those things that are impacting us physically in our environment every day. So I thank the Academy as well, and thank the panel for hosting us and answering our questions. And please see us afterwards. But thank you so much for being here today.